Hello, welcome to another conversation. We are in San Francisco Bay Area. We're going to meet an inspiring individual who have made a mark in American folk and rock music. He writes his own songs and sings and tour around the world. So welcome to the show. Hello, Bhiman.
Hi.
So nice to be in your place and to have this conversation.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for hosting us here.
Yeah, sure.
Amazing weather outside.
Got some great water out for everyone.
So, just to understand, like, what was your inspiration to get into music and songwriting? So, where did you start?
Well, my brother played guitar before me, elder brother, and he didn't play it very much, and it was always sitting in the corner of the room. So I would mess around with it. This was when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I played with it. I really just never stopped playing. Not that I was aggressively learning and being a great student, but I always kept picking it up through the years. I never lost my skill at it, and I just kept building upon it. At the same time, I was very much into sports. I played baseball, which is a big sport here in America, sorry, I lost my track.
Yeah. So, it's from your childhood that you started to play, but did you go through any systematic training or something, or is it just picking up from your brother?
Right. So, no, my brother didn't. My brother didn't know very much about guitar. He didn't take to it very much. I did take a few lessons, and it was just where I would go in with another, my instructor, and he would kind of teach me whatever I wanted to learn. If I wanted to learn a rock and roll song, he would help me have a one-on-one lesson with me about the song I chose to learn. And so I would learn rock and roll music. I would learn blues music. This is in St. Louis, Missouri, which is one of the founding places for blues music in America, and a good rock and roll tradition as well. So I always liked the electric guitar. I always liked playing Chuck Berry riffs. I don't know if you know who Chuck Berry is, but he wrote Johnny B. Good, and he's also from St. Louis, so he was one of the inspirational figures for me. And so I was very into baseball, and I eventually got hurt playing baseball, and I just took to the guitar much more seriously at that point. And basically I played as many hours a day as I could, just because I was
So this is like kind of in your young age, like when you were schooling, or?
Yeah, I was maybe 14, 15 years old. And so it was this very rewarding passion, I guess you would have, where I was getting better and better at it, and I enjoyed it more and more, so I just kept at it.
Because what I noticed from your tours and like your concerts that, your guitar skills never actually been mentioned much on the reviews and so on. Your songs and the singing, but you're an absolutely amazing guitar player. So that's why I just thought of starting with like where that came from, because you just picked it up and moved on. So at what point that you just decided like this is something that you want to do as a professional career?
Well, it just slowly morphs from passion and hobbyist to getting paid a bit to do it, and then getting paid a bit more, and then finally, ultimately reaching a professional career at it. And there was never one moment where I realized, oh, I'm going to be a professional player. It was to me equally whether I was ready to do it, whether I was talented or skilled or working hard enough is also a big part about it. I didn't know if I was quite ready for it until I looked back and I realized that I had already passed the threshold some time back when I realized it,
So when did you start songwriting? Like, because you were, favorably compared to Bob Dylan, and also
nice.
like
That's very
so bringing in, and especially most of your songs have some kind of a social issues or brought out. So when did you actually start writing?
I started writing when I was maybe 20 years old. That was about the same time when I first started to sing. I didn't sing really until I was about 20. And so the songwriting and the singing part coupled with the guitar playing, that all happened together at one time. So, but the social issues aspect of my songwriting is definitely Bob Dylan inspired, mainly with what he could sing about and be popular music. That was the big deal, I think, with him. How he could get away with social issues, social messages in popular song. And I've always loved that aspect of it. I don't know that I sound like him or I'm
well, you have your own identity.
Right.
Yeah, you have your own identity. But what I'm trying to get at is like there will be some incident or something which actually triggered you to write something. Because, any great poets or anyone who actually want to write something, especially social concepts, there's some incident or something behind that which you would have thought, oh, this is not right. I would like to express through my music.
Right.
So do you have any more?
On my most recent album, Rhythm and Reason, one of the main inspirations is what happened to Tamil citizens in Sri Lanka in 2009. Very directly, like that was a very important moment for many people, myself included. And the angle in which I look at through the world is very much focused from that event on this record. It's about kind of betrayal, being lied to. It's about wanting to just get out of your situation as fast and quickly as possible, and xenophobia. And here in America, immigration is a big topic, and I sort of draw parallels with what's going on elsewhere in the world with what's going on here, because in America, our issues are on spotlight a little bit more than any other countries for whatever reason. Well, I know kind of why the reason is, but our immigration policy, and I mean, other countries have heard about our struggle with immigration. Because there's a kind of an inherent hatred running through this country a little bit, and there kind of always has been. And there's plenty of good people as well, but there is also the hateful people who live here. And I sort of draw parallels with what I see going on in the world, in Africa, having seen what happened in Sri Lanka, Syria, as well. I I read the news, so I kind of know what's going on.
So that kind of expression that when you actually wrote your songs, it gives you a kind of a sense of satisfaction and how you feel afterward, after performing that on stage, because it's a different experience, isn't it?
Right.
You're thinking about it, and you just wrote those lines, and then composing your music yourself, and then playing out.
Some of my lines, I don't know if anybody listens to music that's very lyrical heavy, but sometimes in a live setting you can't always, the audience doesn't always hear everything you're saying. So like when they listen to my record and some people have headphones on and they can hear every word because it's mixed so well and every word is audible. That's what's great about when I write a song. And I find a clever lyric, and I know, and I rework it, and I'm just, until I'm proud of what I've written. Basically, that's my criteria for writing a song. Would I be proud to put this out? So, when I write a good line, when I come up with a good concept for a song, and start fleshing it out, and it's all working out well, that's one of the more satisfying moments.
So, just to mention a few of them, like especially the neighborhood, because I was out there in Oakland, California, where the Black Panther started and so on. So the areas is quite run down and it's quite visible of the social issues and the crisis, actually, I would say, in certain parts of the states. So, when you actually wrote those kind of songs, what was your feeling, and what was the kind of a message that you were trying to communicate?
That is specifically having to do with it's from the viewpoint of an angry American or anybody else. I mean, it could be a European, it could be an African person, but I don't know. But specifically to me, it's an American citizen who is fed up with seeing people who don't look like them moving in and quote unquote taking their jobs, which is maybe or maybe not actually happening. and it's about the people being upset about Obama becoming president. I think because of his race, and the Mexican immigration issue in America. There's a lot of like hatred towards other groups of people based on color, in my estimation, and that song, "There Goes the Neighborhood," is sort of a joking song, but that's my style, to joke about something that's very serious, and trying to get my point across through a little bit of humor, as opposed to being very serious about my message getting across. Try to spin it in a way that's a little bit playful in some way.
Yeah. So would you like to sing a couple of lines?
Sure.
Some of the things that you would do if you're from out of town.
I'll have to tune up on it.
There goes the neighborhood, there goes the neighborhood, there goes the neighborhood, there you go now. Tell me what you're gonna do when the bottom falls for you. Tell me what you're gonna do for my babies. And the White House turns to gray, and the black won't wash away. Tell me what you're gonna do for my babies. 'Cause there goes the neighborhood, there goes the neighborhood, there goes the neighborhood, there you go now.
It's amazing. I mean, what I was thinking while you were playing is that songwriting, singing, and piano, just the coordination of these three things, it's not easy at some point because, and also going on tours, doing the same thing again and again and trying to entertain a massive crowd. Because initially you were going solo, and now I can see that you're kind of building up a band.
Yeah.
Kind of. So what was the thinking behind it, and what was the...
It was just something I was leaning towards. I'm not sure if it was a conscious decision. It was maybe what I was listening to in the past couple of years as I was writing for this new record that I released recently. And it was leaning more towards a band sound, R&B sound, more like an older American R&B, like Motown, you might say, or Stax is another record label from Memphis, Tennessee. So the band was just where I was leaning, I guess, in that way. I started playing electric guitar, which is something that I've always played since I was a little kid. But I was doing that folk sort of songwriter thing a few years back. I mean, not that I was doing it just for a few years, but I've always played acoustic guitar, I've always played electric guitar, but they're sort of separate, mean separate things to me a little bit. The acoustic one is more singer-songwriter, Bob Dylan, you might say. The electric one is more rock and roll.
So let's just get back to see, like, you moved from Louisiana, Southern Louisiana, to Bay Area, San Francisco. Is there any reason towards your music career, or is it just a natural move that you...
Well, part of it was my parents came through San Jose, California, which is very close to where we are, in 1969. And this is where they lived for a few years and made a lot of friends, which are still in the area for me and in my family. And then they eventually made it out to St. Louis, which is where I was born and raised. And always had the family friends here in the Bay Area. And there's also a big music, rock and roll tradition here in the Bay Area, like classic rock musicians like Creedence Clearwater Revival, Sly and the Family Stone. Who else am I missing? Creedence Clearwater Revival, Sly and the Family Stone, The Grateful Dead. There's a number of Santana.
Santana, yeah.
A number of really great artists that I always loved growing up. And so I came here just in tiny part due to that, but also a lot of familiarity with my family.
So it's because the way you travel around the world with tours, like you started with Hawaii and certain other countries, islands around the United States, but you frequently come to UK.
Yeah.
So what made you actually to come into UK and because there is a large following around you in the UK.
Yeah.
Not just in London, but across Glasgow as well.
Yeah. Yeah, UK has been very good for me in my career. Possibly one of my biggest markets, even though it's clear across the world from where we sit today. I was a few years back in 2012. I was lucky to be on a show called Later with Jules Holland there on BBC. And it's anyone who lives in UK, almost anybody, unless you live under a rock, have heard of it. No offense to anybody who hasn't heard of it, but it's a very popular show. And I was very lucky to get on that show, and I played a song called Gutter Snipe on that show, and immediately that night, the next morning, I in this age of social media and everything, my fan base in UK, not just London where we filmed, but like you said, Glasgow, up the country, it really just kind of exploded just overnight, a little bit over there, which is definitely interesting. So whenever I go back, I still have a great following there. So it's been.
So is it just the concerts or the tours that you go on, or is it there's a large following on your record sales as well in the UK?
The record sales are good in UK, definitely. So this new one, I haven't gotten any reports back on this one, but just because it's about a month old, so I don't know why. I shouldn't have said that on camera, but yeah, I don't know about this record, but yeah, my record sales in the UK have been very good.
So your future ambitions and what's your plans? Because you're not far from LA.
No.
But you always wanted to classify yourself as kind of an independent artist as well. So
yeah.
So where are you going with your skills?
Yeah, there's benefits to being independent artist, but something I've been working on is, I've always worked on this, but something I just strive for is to songwrite for other artists. Also maybe get into production as well. That will all come. I'll still be doing performing as my own act as Bhiman, and writing songs for myself, which are very specific songs. They're not necessarily songs that other artists would want to cover, but so I write songs for myself and I write songs for other people. So yeah, so I'm playing guitar, singing, writing songs, and writing songs for other people.
So in the over I would say from 2007 or 8 you started your career, and as a professional, and over these years you come up to this level and just to get tours and record sales and so on. But this achievement wouldn't have been without pain, and pain in the sense hard work and so on. So the audience who are looking at this, they might think, because there is a huge population of youngsters who want to get into music, especially songwriting or music videos.
Yeah.
Because nowadays the music videos is the cool thing.
Right.
Everyone wanted to start, but to achieve to this level and to be successful, there's a lot of great pain and also support from the family and so on around, because that's 3-4 elements into it, because sometimes parents always want you to get into a profession which is more stable in their kind of sense. So what kind of your...
They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
So, what it takes to actually get there, because, to do that, it's kind of...
Well, I wouldn't, I don't have a big ego. If I didn't think I was good at what I do, I would stop. But I felt like I had a calling, you might say, calling. And it's something, if I was not very good at it, if I had a big ego and thought I could just do this and force my way through and become successful, I would have stopped. But I do believe in myself, and I feel like what I write about is very personal, and I've always had in the back of my mind, I don't want to be somebody who is an artist that is flash in the pan. That's not a career. I wanted to have a career in it, and writing songs intelligently with I don't know, taking the audience, being entertaining and taking the audience for a ride in what is important to me lyrically, and maybe I'll change a few minds, some stubborn minds along the way, but it's all just entertainment, you know.
So what were kind of an encouragement from your kind of school ages, or like from your parents or family, and like, you know, was it straightforward, or they were saying, oh no, just, you know, this is just a hobby, especially your brother?
I mean, it was definitely like looked at as a hobby, and I think that's the right viewpoint. I think it should be a hobby until you know, the cream rises to the top or whatever, you know, you keep working and working. If you enjoy it enough and you feel connected to it enough, you continue working on whatever your craft is, whatever your study is. I mean, you know, so yeah, it should be looked at as a hobby, extracurricular activity. You know, I might play violin, I might play piano, I might play guitar, and I don't like any of those things, but I take up something else and I start taking that more seriously. But I believe everybody has something that they can really dig into and become a master at. Not everybody finds that necessarily, and not everybody has the luxury of fulfilling that. But yeah, it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of patience.
Because in initial stages, it would have been like some emotional roller coasters as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and then after the roller coaster gets too bumpy, you start stepping back a little bit from trying to invest yourself emotionally into everything, although that's difficult to do as an independent artist. But you can, I mean, keeping at it is one of the best things. Even as if things are going wrong, things are going well, if you continue to work and you continue to hone your craft or study hard or whatever it might be, and try to keep that a constant throughout your life, then the ups and downs you'll become some sort of you know, Zen master or something. You know, if you
to be able to handle everything.
Yeah, to try to not get too high or too low, you know. So I definitely don't get too high. That's like a fault of mine, not getting too celebratory, you know what I mean?
Because also that's also the kind of upbringing. Because normally it's about the parents, the way they actually bring you up, isn't it? In a way. Because looking back, probably they would have gone through hardships, because as the first generation migrants in this country come in and, you know, set up, and the expectations of their children doing well was be high as well. So
yeah,
you know,
I didn't travel halfway across the world for you to become a singer-songwriter, you know. No South Asian parent wants their son to be a singer-songwriter when they travel thousands of miles. But like I said, I feel like I'm doing something not necessarily important, but worthwhile. It's not a passing phase or anything like that. But like something about my parents and my upbringing is, you know, in studying and education, they always told me about tests, like, you know, if you got 98%, what happened to the 2% you missed out on? That sort of thing, and and the being like, my dad would tell me about when he was in school, and there's always this one guy who was tested #1 on the island, and he could never figure out how he was so smart and how he could, you know, being excellent is important in Tamil society, in my opinion. Being excellent.
It's also partly to do with there's no opportunities. That when the other opportunities been crushed in such a way that being excellent in the field of education. So that's the other question I want to ask you. Like, you know, when they brought you up here, I mean, they will have high expectation if you're educational side of things, and obviously, as you said. So did you actually get into any kind of a position at a point where then the parents want you to go in a different direction? So, like, you know, as you said, like in any South Asian parents, or mainly the Tamil parents, will have their vision as well, kind of trying to enforce on the kids, like saying, okay, this is how you got to get there. Or did you have any experience like that?
My parents aren't that stereotypical overbearing about the career and the marriage and the children sort of thing. But I mean, I'm familiar with all that. But they've been, there's of course concern about what I was doing. But I've gotten, my career has gone very well, and they see that success and they understand it much better than when I first started doing it, because the performer, the musician, performer, songwriter was just not, it just wasn't something that they thought was an aspiration. But they've always been very tolerant, never, encouraged me to give up ever, so they were always, but the very enthusiastic encouragement about music, no, I didn't get that. But they never told me to give up. They always knew that I loved it, and playing guitar and music, they always knew I loved it, so they left me be.
Yeah, I mean, just following on that, your songs have a social connotations and so on here in the UK, in the United States, but also the song Jaffna Town, which is like, as a Tamil American, like, just embracing and saying, like, what you want to say, had actually hit in different places. I mean, when I was watching another film the other day, Gun and a Ring, and it was the score on there, so there was some kind of recognition, and there are also other places I've seen that being played.
Right,
so what was the thinking process, or what was your, what were you trying to express through that song, the Jaffna Town?
Well, it's a political song, very much so. It's a song about it's about Sri Lankan military coming and murdering a family in the north of Sri Lanka in the middle of the night. It's just a story I had read in newspapers several times over, something that I wanted to write about. But like I've said before, I don't release a song. I don't finish a song that's not true in some way, or if it has any falseness to it. If it's not a good song, really, I don't release it, even if the message is great. It has to be pleasurable to listen to. So that song met both those requirements for me. But it's a poetic song about this one night that happened to be about the scene I just described,
because it has been played over and over again in many places, as I've heard. So, would you like to give us a couple of lines from that to our audience as well?
Sure.
The moon is sailing over Jaffna Town.
Okay, that's fine.
The moon is sailing over Jaffna Town tonight. 3 bodies lay dead in one bed. A kettle screaming for a lady to arrive. An army engine rolls away.
So that, listening to that song, it reminds me of my childhood as well, what I went through personally. But it's quite a difficult area to talk about in terms of politics and try to bring it into music, how you can actually express, because music is a medium that you can touch a lot of people, and it's not something that just you listen for fun, but also sometimes you cherish memories, and it helps to heal. So what kind of reactions were you getting for these kind of songs, like especially particularly this song, because it has been played many times, and it has been put on a song, on a film as a score, and also I understand that it's going to be played in some music, some news media as well. So what kind of feedback you're getting from it?
It's been good. I mean, I get good feedback for certain songs. Jaffna Town is definitely one of them. Where sometimes the risk of being political, being, I don't know, sharing my views overly sharing my views, that may not be popular views, do pay off sometimes very, very well. And I mean, that's part of why I write songs like that, because some of the more important music that I love has some message to it that has changed my mind about how I think about something. And I think that's true for everybody has some music that changed their mind a little bit about how they felt about something. Music it can be powerful, you know. I mean, I can get away, if I was a comedian, I wouldn't have like the reach, or if I was any number of occupations. Music does have a different sort of ability to do that, so I'm lucky I landed in this field.
So interesting conversation with you. So finally, as concluding remarks, would you like to say something to the audience, maybe like, watching and just, following our program?
I don't know. Check out my. You can check out my new record. It's called Rhythm and Reason, and you should check out my music video I made for that that song. It's called Moving to Brussels, with comedian Keegan Michael Key. I think you guys will enjoy that one.
All right. Thank you very much for hosting us here.
Yeah, no
today.
problem. Thank you.
Thank you.